Hello everybody, my name is Fred Beato with Beato bags. We manufacture drum bags in Huntington Beach, California, and now we have launched our new e-commerce site, shop.beatobags.com. The reason for my small presentation today is because we're starting to get a lot of requests for bags on our e-commerce site, and there seems to be a lot of confusion how to order the right drum bags for your drums. So I would like to take a few minutes of your time to explain to you how simple it is to get this thing right. So first of all, let's start with the snare drums. I have this beautiful snare drum here, Canopus Salkova, given by my beautiful friend Shinichi Usuda. Anyhow, the snare drums is a very simple drum. You just need to tell us what drum you own, whether it's a 4x14, a 6.5x14, an 8x14. We got all the patterns for all the snare drums. The only time there's a small problem is if you have, I believe it's some of the old Ludwig drums and some of the old Rogers, where at the bottom of the snare strainer there's a piece of protruding metal that sticks out at the end of the snare strainer for like 1.5 or 2 inches at the end. If you have one of those drums, then we would need to know what is the size of the metal plate under the snare drum, and it will most likely fit like a 5.5x15, or if it's a 6.5, maybe a 6.5x15 or 16. But besides that application for those unique snare drums, all the snare drums are very simple to get the right size. Anyhow, so let me move on now where the biggest problem seems to be, which is the rack toms that go on top of your bass drum. I'd like to explain to you, just so you understand, that 50% of drum company call them one way, and the other half of the drum companies call their sizes the other way. And I think this is where the confusion really begins. For example, we call our Beato bags 8x12 would be for an 8-inch shell by a 12-inch circle. So we call our bags 8x12, or a 9x13 will be 9-inch shell, 13-inch diameter for a drum head. The problem is that 50% of companies, they turn them around, where instead of being an 8x12, it's a 12x8. So I know this is part of the problem. The other thing I think is very important for once and for all, for you to understand, that when a drum company says you have an 8x10 drum, this is what they're talking about. The naked shell is what determines the size of the drum. Now, if you dress your drum with your Remo heads or your Aquarian or your Evans heads, and you put the lugs and you put the rims mount in the rims, it's no longer an 8-inch drum. The drum grows. So it's very important to know when you order your bags what drums you truly own, and we'll be able to nail it. Now the other thing that's a big problem is when the drum has some sort of protruding hardware on the side due to rims mounting system. This is like one of my old Gretsch drums, and as you can see, it's an 8x12 drum, but when you put the rims mounting on them, it's no longer a 12-inch drum. So on all drums that you have a lot of protruding hardware on the side, which includes of course the new ED.V2, they got a wing nut that sticks all the way at the end, some of the sonars, some of the Mapex drums, the safest thing to do would be to go to the next size up. So for this drum here, you would have to order an 8x13. Remember, when the size grows 1 inch, it grows 1 inch, the whole circle grows 1 inch. So for rack toms that have a lot of hardware on the side, to play it safe, you want to go 1 inch bigger. If you have a 9x13 rack tom with rims mounting, you want to order a 9x14. Now, if you have a rack tom that sits on a snare stand with no hardware, then you can get, for a tighter fit, a stock 8x12 or 9x13. Now that's the deal with the rack toms. Now the floor tom-toms is pretty much like a snare drum. It's very simple. We manufacture all sizes of drums. I think we make over 100 different sizes, and we also do custom drum bags to accommodate your needs. So on the floor tom-toms, if your drums are on legs, then we don't have a problem. Whether it's a 14x14 on legs or 16x18 or 16x16, it's not a problem. The only time we have a problem, and you have to keep this in mind, is if your drums are suspended on the air, not on legs. For example, here's my son's Thomas Star Classics, and we have the same situation where if you see the mounting on the side of the drum, this is no longer a 13x14. You will have to order a 13x15 in order for your drum to have the right proper Beato bag. So the key is rack toms with a lot of hardware on the side, go to the next size up. Floor tom-toms, if the tom-toms are suspended on the air, you got to do the same application, go one size bigger. If it's a 16x16, you have to order a 16x17. Remember, second size is always the diameter of the drum, of the head. So this takes me to the last instrument of the drum kit, which is the bass drum. Now, keep in mind that a bass drum is the same concept as an 8x10. When a manufacturer tells you that you own a 16x22 kick drum, this is what they're talking about. Now, if you take, for example, let's say this was your bass drum, and you put the hardware, the drum heads, and you put your wood hoops, it's no longer 16 inches, it's more like 23 or 24 across. So always remember to know what size drum the manufacturer sold you. And we got all the patterns, and we'll know what size to make your bass drum. I think that should be a wrap. I think that should explain for once and for all how to measure your drums and what the drum makers are doing with the drums. I want to say thank you for all your support through the years. We are very excited about our new shop.beatobags.com. We want to be the source for your bags, and I will not let you down. These are bags handcrafted in America, and they're truly the best bags in the planet, with almost an inch of foam padding. They're waterproof, they're rip proof. God bless America. Shop.beatobags.com.